everybody, this is Sue Craig, your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Cleveland, Ohio, and today I have a technique and a card for you. Let me show you what we're going to do. This is the card that I made using this watercolor background technique. I'm going to show you how to do it and what you need. Let's get started. We're going to need a piece of white paper. This is cut at 5 by 3 3/4. I'm going to put behind this, I'm going to put a piece of black cardstock, which is 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to use Balmy blue, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. What I'm going to do today though is instead of using a full card base, I'm going to be using this, and then I'm going to use a white card base. It really doesn't matter how you do it. A lot of times if we use a colored card base like this, we end up putting a sheet of white in here. I'm doing just the opposite. I'm putting a piece of the colored paper here, and then my inside is going to be white. All the measurements, all the supplies is going to be in the description below, so just enjoy. We're also going to use some two-tone sparkle gems. Now I did not use that on the sample here, but we're going to put them on the card that we do together. We're also going to use 2 stamp sets. The first one is the right words. I think this has become a very popular set right now. One reason is that it has a lot of greetings that have a greeting for the outside and the inside of a card, and it also has a lot of greetings that are a little bit different than we've typically seen before. For instance, I really don't like that you're leaving, but I hope that you love where you're going. I know a good thing when I see it, and I see lots of good things in you. Something a little different. We're also going to be using painted lavender, and I know this is on the last chance list. It's still available, and the dies are available. The paper is staying, so let me show you how to use this. You're also going to need a block. What kind of block are you going to need? You're going to need an H block. I determined I wanted an H block by the size of the stamps that I wanted to use. You don't have to use an H block. You can use any kind of block that you want, depending on the stamps that you're using. I think once you see how this is done, it'll be easier for you to figure out what size blocks you want to use. You're also going to need a couple of markers, and you're going to decide what markers you want. Now make sure that they're water-based markers. We don't use our Stampin' blends. You have to have water-based markers for this. You're going to need a spritzer, so you can put, have water on there. And we're going to use a post-it note. We're also going to use our Memento black ink. If you haven't seen this before, what I have done is taken our white ink pad. Now it comes with no ink in it at all and a refill on the side. Instead of putting the white ink in it, I put my Memento black ink in it. And now I have an ink pad just like the rest of our ink pads. I really like this a lot rather than having a lid that comes off that has black and gets all over. Then of course you're going to need your stamps. So what we're going to do first is I want you to look at this. You can choose any colors you want. I wanted to keep it simple, so I'm going to do blue for the sky and green for the grass. So I'm going to take my Balmy blue and I'm just going to color on my acrylic block here. And I'm going to take my Old Olive. So I have Balmy Blue for that one, and here's Old Olive. And it really doesn't matter which way you color, as long as you cover the whole block with your colors. This is a fun technique. I did a card that had a rainbow on it, so I started with red and orange and yellow, and it looked pretty cool. Now, one you want to keep in mind, when you're going to spritz this with your water spritzer, you want to make sure your cardstock is out of the way, because it will make little dots on it. Okay, I've spritzed it with the water. Now I'm going to take my white cardstock and I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to just set it down here. The nice thing about this too is that if you don't have the coverage that you want, you can re-ink this block and do it again. I like to let it sit there for a minute because I want the ink to soak into the paper. That looks pretty good, so I'm just going to leave that. You want to make sure that this dries, so we'll just leave it for a minute. While it's drying, I want to show you this one. What we can do is we can do our sentiment, which is thinking of you a lot. And what I did was I put both sentiments on the same block, and I could stamp this anywhere I want. Sometimes what I do is stamp thinking of you on the front, and then on the inside I stamp a lot. But today I'm just going to put it all on the front. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to put a post-it note at the bottom here, because I don't want the stem to go below this green box. So I'm just going to cover that up in case the stem does that. I'm going to take the flower. I found it was easier to start with the flowers, and also I found that again, for me, it's easier if I turn my paper to the side. So I'm going to stamp one flower over here. And then another flower. I want to make them a little bit different in height. Alright. And we're doing black because we want the silhouette of the flower. We don't want the colored flower. Alright, now let's get the stem. The stem, you can decide how long you want it to be. And I'm just going to set it right about here. We'll do the next one. That's kind of an easy way to make sure that the stems are where they need to be. So what we've just done is a technique called masking. So we've got a second technique in there. Now we're going to take that off, and you can see that it looks like our stems have stopped here. We have a different height there, and I wanted to add the butterflies to this, so I'm just going to add the butterflies. Put them wherever you want. You can see how quick and easy this is. I mean, because you don't use a lot of water, this is just damp, but it's easy enough to stamp on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer my paper. I'm going to put this on the black, and I use the black because We're using black ink, and this is a nice way to frame your image. One thing you want to also keep in mind when you're doing this is if you have thinner paper and this starts to buckle, make sure that you're using glue and not tape adhesive, because the glue will help it to lay flat. It looks a little bit better. I mean, you can see on this one that it doesn't go straight across. So now I'm going to put this on my Balmy blue. You can see that makes a really nice frame as well. And we've run out of adhesive. So, fortunately, I have some right here in my drawer. There we go. And we're going to add this to a white card base. And I do that by standing it up and making sure that they line up. And then quite often I turn it over so that I can rub it on the back and I am not touching the image or the sentiment on the front. Alright, so there's our card. Now all we have to do is add our gems if we want. And I like to add the gems kind of around the sentiment to bring your eye over to that. And I think what I'll do is just add one up there by the butterflies. And there we have it. Now I will show you another card that I made, a couple cards that I made, but they were with other stamp company stamps. Here's one. Hoping the loss you feel right now will be eased by wonderful memories. Here's the one I was telling you about. I did it like a rainbow. This is for a challenge. So you can do just about anything you want. Like I said, if you're just starting with this, keeping it simple will really help. Just take a look at the stamps that you have and see what you can put in to this section like that. And like I said, you don't need to use the tall thin block. You can use whatever size you want. Well, I hope you liked this card. I hope you give it a try. And thanks for watching.